Our next guest played 292 games for the Vancouver Canucks, including 17 in the postseason. The last time they were in the postseason, it is our pleasure to welcome back to Sekeres and Price, the one and only Mr. Brandon Sutter. How you doing?
Hey, Brandon.
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're
Good.
fantastic. Talked to you last year. Just catch us up. How you doing? What's life like these days?
It's good. Yeah, my health's getting improving for sure. So it's been a rough few years, but life's good. Kids are good. We've got 3 little ones, so we're busy with them. And at some point, I got to find something to do job wise because it's going to get a little bit boring once they're all in school. But right now, it's been fun, and I like being back home, and it's been so far so good.
I don't see you making coffees at Starbucks. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but will you be jumping into hockey, do you think? Do you see yourself jumping into the biz?
I don't know yet. I think it's hard. I think one thing I've enjoyed about not being in hockey right now is just the schedule. I can I can take weekends in the winter and take the kids to the mountains and things that I didn't get to do my whole life. And I got to go skiing a couple times this winter. Things that you've kind of missed since you were 14 years old. So I'm kind of enjoying that, but I don't know for sure what I'll get into, but it won't be sitting at a desk in an office. I don't think. I definitely need to be either in a hockey rink or outside doing something. So I'll wait and see what comes my way.
You attempted to come back this past season, Brandon. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, it was good. I'm glad I gave it a try. This time last year, I started to feel a little bit better compared to where I was in the wintertime. So I started feeling better, and I was able to train and started working out slowly, and I just started to realize I had a chance. And then July kind of rolled around. I talked to my agent. I said, I think I want to give this a try and see how it goes. And luckily Edmonton's about an hour and a half up the road. So I was like, well, if it's going to work out somewhere, hopefully it's in Alberta, it'll be easy. And I had an opportunity there, I had a chance. And once we got into playing games and training camp, just the day after day after day, my health just started going backwards again. And I think, I was training in the summer. I was trying to train, take a day off, take a day off, just try to get myself ready. And that obviously doesn't work at the full season. So I had to give it a chance. I'm glad I did. It gave me a little bit of closure on it. I knew that at that point it was time to just move on, but it sucked to end that way. That's not how you dream things going down. When you think about your career, you think you're going to end with a Stanley Cup and then walk away like everyone hopes, but it's not the way it worked out. But it was a good opportunity there. They're obviously a good team there. They had a bit of a tough start to the season, but now they're rolling, and could be an interesting week.
Yeah,
they're playing each other, so it'll be good.
More on that in a second, my friend.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how closely have you followed the Canucks? What do you make of the season they authored this year?
Oh, it was good. It was exciting. I think, I started. I even played them in preseason. The first game we played against them, that was I haven't played many games last couple of years, so it felt like I was being chased by 100 guys out there. But I think this summer when they brought in some, kind of veteran defensemen, you knew they were going to improve just with that. I think their depth right now is better than it's been in a long time, especially in the back end. They're solid. So right from the get-go of the year, they had a hot start, and then I think last year it was the complete opposite of last year for them. Last year they just started so poorly that you could never catch up, and they had a good second half, but you're still way so far out of it. But this year was a complete flip of that in the first half of the season. They started really well, and that's what sets you up. And then you come deadline, you're actually acquiring players and making yourself better versus trying to find ways to collect draft picks or whatever. So they're a deep team, and obviously when you have your goalies have been good too, so they'll have a chance.
You got a lot of teammates still on this team from the 21 edition of the Vancouver Canucks. Is it harder to watch then because these guys, they're your buddies? You feel like you want to jump in there?
Yeah, it's always bittersweet. Especially when you're not playing anymore. I think you wish you were still playing. I wish you could still. I think there's one thing I could say about not playing is you wish you could play one more playoff game. That's just it's the coolest thing. And obviously last time I got to do it was no fans, so it wasn't quite the same thing. But I'm happy for them and for the few guys I still keep in touch with on the team. It's a really good group of guys there, so I'm happy for them getting a chance. They've been through the grind the last couple of years, and it's finally kind of turned around for them.
Let's address the bubble here, because you referenced it. We've referenced it a couple of times here,
yeah.
and as we look at this team now, and
he can speak freely now.
Yes,
too, on the bubble.
We evaluate the experience of this Canucks team that's relatively green for the playoffs, and we put an asterisk beside a bunch of the guys that their only experience is the bubble. Right. You've tasted both. You have to go back a few more years to see you playing in front of fans in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it 1.5 versus double the intensity? Playoffs are normally double the intensity of the regular. Was that 1.5 at least? How close, how reasonable a facsimile was the bubble to actual playoffs?
Well, you know what? This will be a debate that we can go on forever. But one thing I remember about the playoffs, we were in Edmonton. And it was the first game, and I remember watching on the TV. It was Carolina playing the Rangers, and they had like a few fights in the first 10 minutes of the game, and I was kind of like, oh, this is actually like this is the real thing. Like, we're gonna get after it. And right from the first series we had against Minnesota, it was an absolute war. And I was like, okay, this is still, for us, the hockey still felt like playoff hockey. There was no question.
Okay.
But there just wasn't the excitement of the fans. There wasn't the momentum changes because of the crowd or a big hit. Like, those things were kind of just, there was a big hit and the play just kind of went on. So whether that made it easier for us or harder for us, I think that's probably a debate you can go on, because playing at home in playoffs is obviously awesome and it's great. But sometimes playing the road too, it's fun because there's so much energy. But there's not those moments where someone gets run over and chaos kind of ensues and they're so loud and you kind of lose track of where the puck is. And it's that excitement wasn't there, but the hockey was still tough. And I think getting up for a game in the bubble was the hardest thing you could probably go through as a professional hockey player, because there was no crowd. You had to find a way to rev yourself up. And we played some good hockey, but like you said, there's no fans there. It just isn't the same thing.
Hey, it was the first time through for Petey, for Quinn, for Thatcher. How did you think they did in the bubble? And what are you seeing these days in the Stanley Cup playoffs from, well, the two of them that are healthy?
Yeah, I thought the first year they were good, because I remember my first playoff game and I thought I knew what the intensity would be, and it's not there. You have to experience it to know what it's all about. And the good part about it is it makes you better down the road. So we know that even coming out of that, they were going to be better players. And I remember, especially playing against Vegas, I remember Quinn, he was a pretty, undersized guy, young kid, and they were just running at him, and he was taking hits, but he just kept getting up and he kept going and kept pushing. And you just knew right then you had the character to do it. And Petey's been a guy that's been, signaled out since he was a young player in the league, because they knew he was a talented player. His first year, guys were trying to take advantage of him and hit him around, but that's what happens to good players. That's what other guys' jobs is, to make it hard on their team's good players. So they're handling it well, and Quinn's become he's a Norris finalist. I mean, he's been one of the best defensemen in the league last couple of years, and this year he was just on another level. I think he's the reason he's the captain. He's a great guy. He's great in the room, but I think the whole team runs through him and what he does. And he's a guy that can really control the play. So he's been playing well. And for Petey, I know he's maybe not scoring like he maybe want to be right now, but it's playoffs. You're going to have games where you put up points and games where you don't put up points. And all that matters is your team's winning. And he's still in effect. He's a guy out there that the other team's trying to, keen in on, and they don't want to give him up a one-timer on the power play. They don't want to give him open space, and opens up other things. So it's a tough league. Every year the league gets tighter and tighter. So it's not going to be easy, but they're playing well.
Game 2 of this series saw the Nashville Predators block over 30 shots. You like to block a shot, and does that sound exciting to you? Does that sound over the top to you? What did you think of over 30 shots in a game from one team?
No, I like one shot off the middle of my shin pad once a game. That's the only shot I like to block. So let's clarify that.
Yes, okay.
Right.
No, that was it's weird how series change and go, because game 2 there's just an onslaught of shots and they end up losing the game. Then you go to Nashville and you get outshot and win, and it's just your goaltending's so important, and they've had it. So the shot totals don't matter as long as you win the game. So it's they have to find a way to get some more pucks to the net. I know the last few games they haven't got the shot totals they want, so they got to get the puck to the net and just get it through and find ways.
Hey, Brandon, tell us what it's like to be a shutdown matchup centerman in the Stanley Cup playoffs, where shift after shift, game after game, you're going to be nose to nose in the face-off dot with one of the best, if not their best, offensive player. Tell us what that experience is like.
Yeah, it's fun, especially at home, because you always get the matchup you want. I can just remember my first playoff series. We played the Islanders. It was the first year they made the playoffs in a long time, and they had Sekeres was, I think, one of the finalists for MVP that year, and Sekeres, Okposo, and someone else was their top line, and we just felt like we were playing defense the whole game. But I know it's just a job you got to do, and I think at least for Vancouver, they're deep down the middle. So doesn't really matter which of their centermen's going out there. They have a chance to win the face-off and take care of their own end. So that's why they finished the top 3-4 team in the league this year, because they're deep down the middle and their defense are good. So it's makes it easier when your defensemen help you out. But yeah, it's fun. I think for those guys that are trying to shut down other teams' better players, where the momentum changes in the games and when those guys start scoring too. The guys that are defending are also scoring big goals, because the power play is going to work, and everyone else can chip in.
Did you get a rush out of 0 goals, 0 assists beside McDavid's name if you had him as an assignment, or something like that? Was that just as much of a rush as raising your hands for a goal?
Yeah, if you're 0-0-0, but maybe like 52% in the face-off circle and you're even on the night, then that's a good night against a guy like that. So and that's where you gotta. That's the kind of the whole game within the game that you watch TV, you might not realize, but you're trying to, as the home team, you're trying to get matchups, get the right defenseman out there against the right players, and again, when you have a deep team, it makes it so much easier. You play 4 lines and you can go. So I think that's, again, for the Canucks, their back end. I think any pairing they can put out there and not be too concerned with who's on the ice, and that helps your team.
Yeah, well, which brings us to Elias Lindholm. You played against him. He played down the road from you in Calgary for all those years as well. He comes to the Canucks. He's not putting up a ton of points, Brandon, but boy, what a two-way centerman he is. A word or two about his game and what you've seen from him as a Canuck in the playoffs.
Yeah, when they picked him up, I thought that's a perfect pickup. They needed a second-line centerman, and he's just so steady and solid. And I think he put up a lot of points those years where you're playing first power play, and that's huge. He was playing with Gaudreau and Tkachuk every power play, and they were one of the best lines in the league that one year. And he put up a lot of points, but he's a two-way player. He's going to take care of his own end too. He's not a guy that's going to cheat for offense, and he's so steady there. I'm a big fan of how he plays, and I think what made Calgary good those years where they had him and Backlund, they weren't going to put up 110 points, but they were going to put up their share and be good in the face-off circle and hard to play against. And he's a very good hockey player.
Rick Tocchet announced as a Jack Adams finalist today, and we all believe he's going to get that award. You got him relatively early in his coaching career. He'd already been a head coach, mind you, with Tampa. But your thoughts on his demeanor then, and if you see any noticeable differences behind the bench? He seems so unflappable. Was he unflappable then, or did he still have some player temper in him at that point?
No, he was pretty chill. I think he was one of our assistants in Pittsburgh, and right from the get-go, he's just such a likable guy. He played in the league a long time. He's got a lot of respect that way, but just an awesome guy. He'll pull you aside, have a conversation with you, and just he's a good person. And when you're a player playing for a coach, that's step number one. If you trust the guy and have some respect for the guy, you're going to play hard for him. And obviously, he's got the guys dialed in, because from the day he came in last year, everything flipped. Right from, I don't know what his record is since he's been there, but it's got to be the best in the league, or maybe Florida and hand them. But he's a solid guy, and it sounds like, just talking to the guys on the team throughout the year, they just said it just feels different this year. It just feels like the right mix of coaches and players, and I think they got a good thing going.
Do you think there's any room left in the league for even a part-time screamer in terms of a coach? Like, it just doesn't seem like that plays anymore. Like, you have to be able to talk to these guys as almost equals, you're the boss to some degree, but it just doesn't seem like that, the old style coach is going to work here at all.
No, and I think it just goes with, I guess, a little bit of how kids are now and parenting now. It's different than it was 30 years ago. And there's things now that kids would do and say that even when I came in the league only 16 years ago, I wouldn't say or do. It was much more. It's just different. There's no way to explain it. It's just different. So you have to be able to connect with the players and understand where they're coming from, and as a coach, be a listener, not just a screamer too. So I think system wise, every team's playing more or less the same system. Some teams are trapping up a bit more, but it's pretty much the same game right through. So as a coach, I think it's just, you got to motivate your players and find a way to get them to like you and to buy in.
I'm interested in your thoughts on the evolution of JT Miller here as a Vancouver Canuck. Brandon, you were here when the trade went down. I'm sure you followed the progress here. What did you first make of him when he arrived in Vancouver, and what are you seeing out of the player now?
Yeah, well, I'd played against him a lot before he came to Vancouver. He was the Rangers, and I was in Pittsburgh. We played against him in playoffs, I think, twice. And I think when we got him, we just knew he was a good player. So I was like, oh, he's a big forward. He can skate. And I think he was maybe more of a winger than if he played wing and center.
Yeah, a little more of a winger. Yep.
Yeah. And then he came to our team, and right away I was like, well, and then that was the year that things kind of turned around for us. We got him and Tyler Myers the same year, and it just seemed like we just got a little bit better. We just and Petey and Hughes came along, and everyone, we just became more of a older team. And that one year we had a good year because of that. But he's such a competitive player, and he's big, he's strong, he can be mean. He just plays to win. And I know last couple of years when things don't go well, he obviously gets a spotlight on him because he's an emotional guy, and he's not afraid to, scream at someone on the bench or whatever. But it's intensity, and it's not fun losing. So you don't want a guy that sits there and, puts his tail between his legs. You want a guy that's going to go after it, and he's not afraid to get after it. And, I talked about Quinn being the heartbeat of the team, but I think up front, it's probably JT, because when you watch them play in the season, it's him that's forechecking, hitting a guy, grabbing a puck, making plays. He's so good on the power play now. I don't know when he became a good passer, but it wasn't when he was 22. So it must have been he was about 27, 28. Because when he was younger, he wasn't. When he's coming up on the power play and swinging up high and grabbing the puck and attacking towards the net, even in practice playing against this, you don't know where he's going to go. He's so dangerous with the puck. So just a good player, and again, he plays hard. So as a teammate, that's all you ask for a teammate, and he's awesome. So
that yin and yang though of the personalities of Miller and Hughes is nice, though, isn't it? I mean, you don't want the same guy twice.
No, you don't. You don't want two JTs.
No,
no, he's good. It's I know we always bug him all the time because Millsy, if you ever gotten to know him really well, he likes to talk too. So it's he's a great guy in the room, but you got to have, like you said, a room full of personalities. It's good to have a mix of different guys. So you got Quinn at one end and Hughes and Millsy on the other. So it's perfect.
Were you part of these card games on the plane, Brandon? Was that your jam?
No, we had a bunch of us playing Mario Kart for a couple of years. So I used to play the card game when I was in Pittsburgh, but everything was an hour flight or an hour and a half flight. Once I moved out west, I was more of a play some games and take a nap guy.
Right. Gotcha. You say you still keep up with several guys on the team. Who do you keep up with?
Usually, Millsy and Mizey, Tyler and JT quite a bit. I know they're guys. Just when I was there, they were kind of about the same age as me, and we've just remained good friends. And for Tyler, our wives are still good friends too. So, but Tim and JT, and I just text with Brock and Thatcher or Quinn and Petey, just the guys I played with. And it's one thing about hockey: you're never the best friends you play with. You always end up being split apart when your career's done or when you get traded or whatever. But good to keep in touch with them, and it's I'm just, like I said, I'm happy for them to get a chance. And I went and seen a couple of them after the game at Edmonton a few weeks ago, and it was just good to catch up with them. And they're a good group of guys.
Well, it doesn't sound like Tyler wants to leave, huh? If you had to place a Tocchet, would you say that he's a Vancouver Canuck next year too?
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think why. I think he loves it there. His wife likes it there. They live in Kelowna, so it's close. Her family's in Kelowna. They're really close with his wife's family, and just so convenient for them. But I think when you've been with the team for a while and you've been through the struggles, once things finally get good, you don't want to leave. You want to see it through. And obviously he's going to. I'm sure his contract look a little different this time, but I think he'll be happy to stay.
He'll be okay with that. Yeah,
yeah. I think he's done all right. So
yeah,
he'll be. Hopefully he stays, because he's, like I said, their defense right now. Like I think Quinn's their youngest defenseman, and he's their best player. But after that, everyone's older veteran guys, big bodies, like just. I mean, I don't want to say it, but kind of built for the playoffs. Like they're a big team back there, and it's a good group, and he's a big part of that.
Hey, we talked with Max Lapierre yesterday, your teammate in Pittsburgh, and he said they don't make defensemen like Ian Cole anymore.
No, they don't. He came to Pittsburgh. I think my last year there, he got traded for Robert Bortuzzo. I think it was my last year. Can't remember, but I grew up playing against him in under 18s and World Junior stuff, and he was just. I mean, he's just a unit out there. He's so strong, and he's not afraid to take a puck in the face or whatever. Like he's the perfect veteran defenseman to be in your team. And with him and Myers and Zadorov and even Susie, like you don't want to go in the corners with those guys. It's not a fun place to be. So it's they got a good mix going with Quinn and the other kid. They're obviously high skilled and good players. The only reason I said other kids, I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce his last name.
Roenick, yeah. Think Jeremy with a little bit of a
yeah. They got those two guys making a lot of plays, and the other guys can just shut it down. It's they got a good system going.
How confident are you they're going to win this series against Nashville?
Well, I was a lot more confident 2 days ago, but Yeah, they're just a good team. I think their top guys if they can score, they'll be fine. It's just Nashville's a good team too. I mean, I think they were the best team in the league the second half, weren't they? Nashville down the stretch. So,
better than the Canucks anyway.
Yeah, you're playing against a team that's pretty equal. You might look different on paper, but I think their goalies have been good. Even though Thatcher's been out, their goalies have been good. Like they're not giving up 5-6 goals a game. It's pretty steady back there. So we'll see what happens. But I think they got to feel good. They're still up 3-2. So you just got to win. You got to win one game.
Yeah. Last question, and you were in that room earlier in the season. What would you think of a Vancouver-Edmonton second-round matchup? How what would be big for you as you look inside that matchup?
Western Canada torn apart.
Yeah, it'd be good. I mean, I don't know last time Canadian teams have played each other in the playoffs. I mean, maybe the 1 year Montreal played Winnipeg that bubble season, but like nothing, not real playoffs. So it'll be pretty good to see. But I think it's two good teams. I mean, the two best teams in the West, really. I mean, Edmonton started the year so slow, but after that, they were the best. And other than Dallas, I mean, I don't know who else you'd pick. Colorado, I guess, but two very good teams. Edmonton's got a lot of firepower. They can just watching them, their power play, like they just score on command. They make it look so easy. Those two guys, it's crazy. But again, different makeups of the team, but both veteran teams. So they both got a chance to win the whole thing. So we'll see what happens.
Not surprised that a Sutter would fancy a old Smythe Division Oilers second round playoff series.
That'd be good.
Brandon, amazing catching up with you, my man. Thank you so much for the time. Wish you the best there, and we'll call on you again soon here.
Okay, guys. Sounds good.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, then follow along with Sekeres and Price on YouTube. I promise more content coming.
The kids call it subscribe on YouTube.
Well, how about liking it?
Do that as well.